question for you. If you had talked about, actually being able to connect with your empathy, actually being able to take that then to connect better to emotional intelligence for your people, what is your understanding of it? I mean, if I were to say, tell me what empathy means to you and how that connects to emotional intelligence as a leader, as a thought leader, as someone who is leading the charge in being able to create living wages and better situations for people. How would you explain that to me?
Yeah, I think that's the real start of it, is understanding what it means to you and what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it means caring for others, and it means caring for others the way that I should care for myself. So I had to learn to care. I had to learn to love and care first. And so even during periods of time when I had gotten past the self-loathing and some of the things that some of my main character flaws, there was still a point in time where I wasn't quite right with me. So it's literally very challenging. I would say almost impossible to be the best version of yourself to others, to care about others, if you are not right with yourself. And so I think that was where my journey took me, is I had to get right with myself and get on a better regimen of caring for myself mentally and physically so that I could care for others. And empathy to me means not saying necessarily that I understand where they're coming from, but that I'm holding space and listening actively to make sure that they know that I care about where they're coming from. I don't know their journey, and I may hear it, and some of it may be parallel to some of the things or that I've been through in my life, but I haven't lived in their shoes, and I have not had their journey. So it makes it to where, for me, empathy is about holding that space to allow people to be seen and valued and show that you care about them enough to allow them to bloom and to be who they are. And then, I think that leads us to what emotional intelligence is as a whole, how all the things that we want to do and we need to do for ourselves and for others and for society. And I takes, you know, in my own journey, it took me, like I said, unlearning and relearning and challenging myself. And it is a growth process that has happened over years. So that's what it is for me. That's where I stand.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have like, brilliant people like you to keep me in line and show me, like, hey, this is this is where we need to go. So I appreciate that.
Well, but I think it is a very personal thing. I mean, we have to understand what it is for us. And I think you just hit the nail on the head because you were talking about self empathy, that charity needs to begin at home, that you had to be able to give that to yourself and understand yourself first. And then you could begin to give it to other people. And we miss that piece a lot. We have this
Yeah.
idea that empathy is always between two people, but you really do have to have it for yourself first. And we can be our own worst critics, the self-loathing and the imposter syndrome and the shame and all the dirty stuff that's underneath that nobody else knows about.
And
So,
I'm still a work in progress when it comes to some of that stuff. I still have to I still have to quiet the voices and live with that. I call it Junior. It's the monkey on my shoulder that, likes to come up and tell me that, man, you're still that broken kid that's, hanging out on the corner and, sleeping out on the street. You don't matter. You don't have a say. And everything you try is going to fail. And so it's coming to terms with the things in your life that have challenged you and held you back because a lot of times we are the biggest part of holding ourselves back. We are keeping ourselves from doing those great things. I keep this poem from Marianne Williamson on my desk, and it's Our Deepest Fear. And it just reminds me sometimes when I really need it. There's a passage in the middle that talks about who are we to play small so other people won't feel bad around us, and we are meant to shine like children do. And I think we forget life gets complicated and life's messy, and I've got to pay bills and I got to do this and I got to do that. We forget that we have to take care of ourselves. And in taking care of ourselves, we open the ability to take care of others and to see them wholly as they are and to give them the space to shine. We forget that, plodding through our day and grabbing our coffee at our favorite place and having our path and our routines. We forget to stop and smell the roses. We forget to see the beauty in the world, in ourselves and in others. And I think that's a terrible tragedy. We need, I've been intentional about making that change in my life and making sure that I do as much as I can to help others do the same. So
Yeah. And I think you nailed it. I mean, and the cool thing is too, is in making that space for others, then others will make that space for us. It all goes around. That's the thing with empathy too. It isn't something that's just given. If you're giving empathy, you're also showing how to give empathy, which means you're a whole lot more likely to receive it. You're showing how it could be done, especially if you're in a leadership position, because if you are a leader, someone is always watching, whether you think they are or not. So how do you want to be perceived? What do you want your legacy to be? Do you want it to be of someone that's transformational and brings other people up and creates this space so that we can all come up together, that humanizes instead of degrades other people? Or do you want to just be another Montgomery Burns command and control that we all forget about because it's another one in a big heap of leaders that all act that way? And there's your choice again. Who do you want to be?